Hi guys, Samantha from Jessima Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to create a faux white howlite and black dragon vein agate necklace. And we're going to be putting a few coral beads with that as well. But the main techniques that we're going to be using in polymer clay is the faux white howlite and the dragon vein agate. So these are some real pieces that I just wanted to show you before the tutorial, because this is what we're going to be attempting to imitate. So what we're going to start off with is creating the faux white howlite. And so I'm going to be starting off with white primo clay, and you can use any white in any brand and that will work. And I'm going to be making a fair amount. You can use less clay if you want, but instead of cutting up slices and placing it on a donut, I'm just going to be taking the entire cane and making a donut out of it. So I'm going to be needing a fair amount of clay, and we're going to be making beads as well. But you can use less clay if you want. So I'm probably using about 2 blocks of white here. And it's always better to have extra, because then you can make different beads. You can go and make a bracelet to match, you can make some earrings. So when you're doing a technique, sometimes it's just nice to go and use extra clay on it, because you can then make matching pieces, or you can make the same necklace again. Or if you ended up actually needing more clay than you thought, it means that you don't have to go and redo it all over again. So what you'll do with the white is you're going to chop it nice and fine. And I haven't conditioned it because I want it to be firm, and I don't want it to be smushing when I cut it. I want to keep it in these nice sharp shapes. And I'll just do that with all of my white, and then we can assemble our highlights. Okay, so I've got these all chopped up over here. And you can see I've got a whole bunch. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just gently space them all out so that they're not all kind of on top of each other, because we now want to antique them with paint. And the paint that I'm going to be using is for the most part yellow ochre, but I'm probably also going to be putting a little bit of burnt umber in there. And so first what you'll do is you're just going to take a bit of water, and I don't think you can see that, but I'm just giving them a good dose of water over the top, and this is just going to thin out that paint a little bit. And then I'm going to take my paint, and I'm just going to pop it into spots. Okay, that's it for the burnt umber. And then I'm going to also have some of the ochre. And now also by spraying them with water, it means that you can gently massage that paint in without worrying about the pieces all sticking to each other while you get that paint on. Okay, that should be enough. And so now I'm going to put on gloves. And this is just to prevent it from getting really messy. And I'm working on a tile, so it doesn't matter if these get paint all over the work surface. Now you're not going to be pressing hard, you're just moving it around, getting that paint evenly distributed. And your umber and ochre are going to start mixing together, but they're not going to mix together evenly, which is exactly what you want. You want some parts that are a little bit darker, some parts that are a little bit lighter. And also, because we're wearing gloves, we're not going to have to worry about our hands getting all messy. I'll be messy up until a point, but this can be very messy. And if you see big clumps, just separate them and then continue massaging. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to continue until you're quite happy with it, and then just space them all out separately like that, And then you can either just let them dry naturally, or you can use a heat gun or a blow dryer to get them to dry. Just go through and make sure that you got all of those flecks, and then separate them and let them dry. You don't want to be putting them together until they're dry. We'll put them together in their beads later. Just make sure you got a nice cover. Okay, and then I'm just going to take off these gloves. Okay, so I've finished drying them up. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to grab a piece of greaseproof paper. There we go. And let's see if I can get it to sit flat. There we go. I'm going to grab a bunch of my clay, and all I'm going to do is I want to mold it roughly into the shape of this donut. So this should be enough, and so I'm just going to grab it and press it together. And this is why I'm using the greaseproof paper, so that it doesn't stick to the tile. Okay, and I'll just add more as need be around the edges, like so, until I have a nice nugget of clay that I can easily cut into. Okay, so I've got something that is big enough. Now we need to make sure that we press this all together so that it's nice and it doesn't have any cracks and things in it. So I'll just take it off a piece of paper for a minute and use my tile, because it's got all these little cracks and things in it. So I'm just gonna, I don't want to squish it or roll it into a ball. I want to keep it roughly in the same shape that I put it into, but I want to just smooth out all the pieces and things. So that's just going to come from pressing it all together. And we're going to basically do almost the exact same process with the dragon vein agate. All we're going to do is replace the white with black and replace the brown paint with white paint. And then we're going to basically do the exact same thing, but it'll look completely different. Okay, so I'm just going to continue doing this until I think it's mostly smooth. It's okay if you have some cracks in it, just a little bit, because the stones naturally have a few cracks in them, but we want it for the most part to be smooth. Okay, so it's just about smooth. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some greaseproof paper and I'm just going to burnish the top of my donut. I just want to get it flat. Now I'll just bring over my cutter again. It's almost the right shape, and what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to pop the greaseproof paper there and bring over my lentil bead roller and press from the top, and this will give me a nice flat piece to work with. There we go. Okay, then grab some cling wrap or glad wrap, whatever you guys tend to call it. Smooth that over the top, make sure there's no wrinkles. And let me just bring that forward. Okay, and then I'll grab my donut and I'm going to press down. And this should give me a bit of a dome, which is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm just going to gently press on either side to try and get out of here, because it's going to have cut straight through the cling wrap. But because we still got the cling wrap on here, it's fine, because it won't it will mean that we don't have any fingerprints or anything like that on here. There we go. Okay, I'll just move that out the way. And I might just cut down again. Just make sure that I cut cleanly through there. Because I've made it pretty thick. Okay. Press down at the end. Get that out. And then I'll keep this on for a moment. I want to keep the cling wrap on that is for a minute. And I just want to go and give it an even stronger dough. Just by gently pressing along these sides. And the nice thing about the Glad wrap, or cling wrap, whatever you guys tend to call it, is that it's going to mean that we don't actually have fingerprints on this. So I can gently press and form it more into a donut, or at least a domed one. And I'll just continue doming until I'm pretty happy. I'm almost happy, but I need to do the inside as well. Okay. And then just go around and smooth the edges. I'm just trying to get that piece of clay off. There we go. And you can use your blade to help you do this as well, just to tuck in those edges. Just spin round with your blade. Okay, and then find a piece of the wrap that is sticking out. Gently lift that off of your donut. And then what we're going to do with this one is we're just going to poke that out with a skewer quickly. And actually I'll just use this metal tool to get it out. Okay, and I'll also use this metal tool here to just clean up the edges inside here. And that looks quite nice on its own, but what I want to do now is I want to quickly clean it up. So I'm going to grab some isopropyl alcohol and give that a quick spray, and grab a wet wipe and then start cleaning, because I want to see how this turned out before I bake it, because if it didn't turn out well, I can always just chop it up again and add some more paint. That's what's nice about this technique, is you can always add more paint if it didn't turn out quite right. So I'm just spraying the alcohol, and this helps me remove that paint cleanly. And also reduces all of that sanding you'd have to do later. So I'll just gently continue cleaning this up. Okay, so here's how it turned out. Now, although I like it, I don't think that it is bold enough for my liking. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab it, and the other little leftover piece that I have that we cut out around it, and I'm just going to pop that with my other pieces, and I'm going to chop this all fine again, and then I'll give it another layer of paint. Has it gone blurry? Sorry, I apologise, I don't know why it went blurry there, but essentially I'm just going to take this and I'm going to chop it fine again and coat it with another layer of paint, possibly another 2 layers of paint, because I think what I want is, I like these veins, but I think they need to have they need to be a little bit more pronounced. So all I'm going to do is chop it, paint it, let it dry, paint it again, and then we can assemble our donuts again. But for this one, I think that one layer of paint will work. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this one now. I've just cleaned off the top just so that I can see roughly how large these veins are, and they're a little bit larger, which is the way I would like it. I haven't cleaned off the back, and I've just smoothed it off, but it's going to need a really good sand when we're done because we still have paint on here and we have a few divots and things like that, so it needs to be sanded really well. So I'll put that off to the side, and I'm going to grab a little bit more of our clay. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to press this all together. You can see that might be a little large. Just take off a bit. There we go. Now I'm going to just roll it in my hands to get it together. And if it comes apart like that, that's fine. Just stick it back together. And then I'm just going to gently roll it in my hands to create a round. Okay. I'm just going to take my lentil bead roller and I'm going to press down. And this is going to create a rondelle. Now I might need to try a few times because it's still not sticking together. You might need to press it together a few times before you can get it right. But you'll make quite a few of these, probably, I'd go for around 12 of these. And all you do is you just gently press on it to create your rondelle, and then just press around the sides just to close up any cracks that might be there. But once baked, it will stick together really nicely. Okay, and then I'll create a whole bunch of these and I will bake them at Primo's recommended temperature for a full hour. And when I'm done with these, I will show you how to do the faux agate. Okay, so I've finished up those little rondelles, and I've also chopped up the black and placed white paint all over it and let it dry. So you basically do the exact same thing as you did previously. It's just black clay chopped finely with white paint over the top, and that is what you should end up with. So now I'm going to take a fair amount of that and a smaller donut cutter, same type but smaller. Just going to stick this together just like before. You just simply create a nice mound, and I think my donut will fit quite nicely onto that. And then just make sure that you squish this properly so that all those pieces are stuck together. Like so. And then when you're ready to start, just take something flat and just press on the top. Okay. And then I will grab cling wrap and place that over the top. Okay. And then I'm just going to press. And actually, I'll use my lentil bead roller to do this. Here we go. And then I'll lift that up. Now I'm just pressing lightly on the top to remove any cracks that might have appeared. Then remove the outside belt. And then I'll just, like before, press around the edges just to dome that further. And I'm going to be creating 2 of these, exact same size. And then I'll also be making around 12 rondelles, so it's basically the exact same. Then you'll bake all of them for around an hour at Primo's recommended temperature. And then when you're done with that, we'll be able to start sanding. And there's going to be a fair amount of sanding to do, I'm not going to lie. I'm just using this to gently smooth the edges. And do that on the inside as well. And then before you put it in the oven, just remember to take that cling wrap off, because I've done that a few times where I've forgotten to take it off and then it melted in the oven. There we go. Okay, that's our one done. Now I'm going to go do another one and 12 rondelles and then bake. Okay, so my beads are finished and they're just sitting over here on a cloth, and I made an extra donut and I want to see which one of these comes out better. But I've got everything over there, and then I have this sink full of water, and I've got my pieces of sandpaper in here and they've just been soaking. And this is how I like to start off my sanding. I like to sand with wet dry sandpaper first, and generally I will start with a 400 unless I have a lot to sand off, in which case I will use a 380. And I'm just going to start sanding. And you want to keep it wet because it just helps the process. And you're going to do this with each of them. And I just want to show you what this looks like after I'm done here. And I might actually want to move on to the 380. We'll see. Okay, and you can see that's starting to get removed. And actually I think I might want to move on to the 380. Let me get that. Should remove things quicker. Yeah, that's better. And then I'm just going to continue sanding this until I get all of the paint off. And until I've got all the bumps and things done. Then I'll go up to the 400 again. Then 800. Then 1200. And after all that, I will move on to my polishing papers and I'll show you that. But just make sure that this is all wet because it makes the sanding process go a lot quicker. Okay, so your pieces should come out with this really dull scratched effect on them once you have finished sanding with the watercolour. And don't freak out, that is completely normal. Now you want to start on polishing papers, and you would start with a 400 and go and give your stuff a good sand, and you'd work up from your 400 all the way up to the 8000, and you should be able to see immediately that it starts to clear up a bit. And just make sure that you do a good job with that. And the sanding, the wet dry sandpaper gets off a lot of material, like the paints and stuff that we wanted to remove, but the polishing papers, they're really just to take it from a matte or a scratched finish and take them up to a shiny finish. They're not really going to remove all that much material, and that's why I don't worry about wearing a mask with these, because they don't take off much material at all. Whereas the wet dry sandpaper, they take off a lot, and so you have to either wear a mask with them or use them underwater, because it's not good for you to breathe that stuff in, and there's a lot of it. This though, hardly any, and you should see already that it's starting to clear up. Okay, so I finished sanding, and so before we get on to buffing, I want to just start drilling. And so you're just going to take your pin drill, just drill straight through your rondelle. And it will take a little while, but you should be able to get through. Just let the drill do the work. And I've got my finger over there to feel when it's going to come through. So just a minute. There we are, I can feel it coming through. Okay, now I just want to stop drilling before I hurt my finger. And I'll go through the other way. There we are. And that is how you'll drill your rondelle. Okay, and I just drilled it a little bit wider. And you'll do that with all of the other rondelles. Okay, now I'm just going to take a little bit of Renaissance wax on my finger. And here is the Renaissance wax. And I'm just going to rub this over the surface of my rondelle. And you'll do this for the donuts as well. Okay, then grab your Dremel. This is the brand I'm using. And I will buff. Now you might want to turn down your sound quickly. And that is all you should need. And you'll repeat the process with the donuts. So I'm going to go and drill all of my other pieces and buff them, and then we can move on to the next step. Okay, so I finished drilling everything, and we're now ready to start our designs. And with this extra donut, I've actually come up with another design for it, and so we'll do that one quickly. And so I just need to grab my suede, and I'm using this beautiful burgundy sort of a colour, which is going to go really nicely with that white howlite. And if I remember right, it is this way around. Yes. Okay, so just pop that on like that. And then it is the black one. Just give it a moment to come through. There we go. And then the white one. And it just takes a little bit of effort to get it on. There we go. And I think I might want a spacer, so let me just bring over the spacers that I have. And this is just another design. If you don't want to do all of that sanding, this is another really nice design that takes a lot less sanding to do. And now I'm just busy seeing how I want these beads to be put together. So I'll just come back once I'm happy with the design. Okay, so I think I like that design. So now I'll just grab each end and just pop a cord end on. Just give that a squeeze, and some of them break, so you've got to keep a few in stock. Just give that a squeeze, and it can take a little while to get that properly squeezed down. There we are. got it there. Okay, and it just turned out that I had a too larger one. So I've just popped the smaller one on. And that one should squeeze down much better. Just give that a good squeeze. Make sure that's on there properly. I will repeat on the other side. And this one's pretty snug fit already before you even squeeze it, so that's better. There we go. Those other ones were a little bit too large. Okay, and I'm just making sure that I've got that on properly. Give it a little tug to see if it's in there properly. And then bring over 2 jump rings. And let's see. Bring over a toggle clasp too. Okay, and that's just the one design. This is a more simplistic design than the other ones, and it also will go a lot faster. So if you're looking to sell stuff, this is probably the better way to go. But if you're looking for a statement piece, the other one that we're about to string is probably the way that you want to go. But I really love how this cord really brings out that red in the howlite. There we go. And that's our one necklace. So let me just show you how that looks. Cool. And that toggle goes quite nicely. But there we are. That's how it looks. So now I'm going to pop that to the side and we'll start stringing our other one. So you're going to want a length of Acuflex, and I'm just going to be stringing it onto the Acuflex to start with, so that I don't end up wasting any Acuflex. And you're going to start with a spacer, silver one, then a red coral bead, and then another spacer, and then I'm going to start with a black rondelle, and then another spacer, red coral bead, and the red coral beads are actually real coral, they're not faux or made of polymer clay. Then we're going to do on our white howlite, and then another spacer, another coral bead. And you can skip forward if you want. I just want to show you the whole half of one of the necklaces. Then we'll get onto our donut. This can be just a tad tricky to get it to go through your hole on the other side. So you have to kind of direct it there. And if it's really giving you trouble, sometimes you can actually use pliers to string it in. There you go. And that's what I generally like to do. Then another spacer, another coral bead, spacer, white howlite. And you want the white howlite to be against the black donut. You don't want to be doing a black rondelle on either side. You want to be going black, white, with a red coral bead and 2 spaces between each. And of course that's just my design. You can go with any design that you wish. This tutorial is just to show you the techniques really and give you a finished design, or 2 in this case. And you can go and play around and make the designs as you wish. And here's our other donut. See if I can get through. There we go. And then I'll repeat what I've done on this side, Okay, so I've strung it on, and I'm just going to attach the clasp to one end before I cut. So I'm going to want a charlotte crimp and a crimp. I'll sting the charlotte crimp on first, then the crimp. Squish that crimp, bring the charlotte crimp over the top and squish that. And then grab a jump ring. I might as well grab two, one on the other side. Open that jump ring up, and then let's see. Got one over here. I don't think that's too big. I'm wanting to use it for a while, but I think it might be a little bit too big for this one. So I'm gonna go with this one instead. I'll just open that up, pop that on, and close that up. And that's our one side done. We'll bring this up, give this side a trim, and don't trim it so close that you're going to be holding on to nothing. Grab your charlotte crimp again, string that on, and then a crimp, and just lift this up to make sure that it's where it needs to be. Crimp that crimp nice and tight, and then once you've done that, then you can trim it to the degree that it needs to be trimmed to. There we go, because that's barely anything to hold on to. Okay, close that up, grab our jump ring, and you can see these are nicely sanded on the other side as well. The back's also quite important, not as important as front, but still very important, so you need to make sure that the back looks nice too. And there we are. And let me just remove that Acuflex from over there. And let me show you what this necklace looks like. And I'm going for a fairly small necklace. And so if you wanted it to be a bit longer, you could add some more beads over here. You can do another red bead, another charm, another red bead, another charm. But I have a fairly small neck. That's probably about the size of my neck. So that's the reason I made it smaller. You could also sand more rondelles if you wanted to, but that's completely up to you. And so that is basically it for this project, and so I do hope that you enjoyed it. I did enjoy showing you everything, and I also enjoyed playing around with the designs, making the two different designs. This is the one that I would personally wear because it's more simple and a little bit less large and statement like, but this one will definitely catch people's eyes. So depending on what you like doing, there are two different project designs for you. And so if you like the tutorial, please let me know in the comments below, and as always, I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.